Hi everyone and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Matilda and I make videos about books, writing and other things that tickle my fancy. I'm currently out on our balcony and I decided it's spring, but that also means that the sun is very harsh, so I'm sorry if I'm squinting. I'm here today to film the first part in my foot update video. It has now been almost 2 weeks since I had my surgery and I figured I'll let you know what's happened from then until now and how the surgery went. So I had my surgery on the 21st of March, early in the morning. I had to be at the hospital at 7:30, and seeing as how Mark and I live 2 hours away from the hospital, we decided to stay over at a hotel near the hospital the night before, so that I wouldn't have to get up at like 3 a.m. to get there on time. The hotel in itself was nothing special. We just wanted a bed, really, and Marcus wanted breakfast. I was fasting since midnight the night before, so I couldn't have any. But we got to the hotel at maybe 6, 7 the night before, and then we kind of quickly went to bed. I had to shower both the night before and the morning of the surgery with this antibacterial soap, basically. So I had to wash my entire body and hair with that. So I did that and then we kind of went to bed and I could not fall asleep because I was freaking out about my surgery. I don't know how much I slept that night, but it was not many hours. And the hotel was sadly also situated right next to a very big road that was also busy the entire night because it's very close to the airport. So apparently people go to the airport in the middle of the night. Who would have thought? We then got up at like 5:45 in the morning because Marcus had to have time for breakfast and I had to have time for the shower, which takes a while, I'll have you know, to wash your entire body down like super thoroughly and making sure that you get everywhere around your nostrils and behind your ears and that you don't miss a spot anywhere, because it has to be super clean for the surgery. We then left and went to the hospital, which was like a 15-minute drive away, and we got there at about 7:20 and I had to be there at 7:30. So we did have a little bit of time, but I was very nervous that something was going to go wrong and that we weren't going to find parking on time. So I went out of the car, Marcus went to park, and I went and got myself checked in. And it was me and another patient arriving at the same time. He became patient number 1 and I became patient number 2. Marcus then came in, he'd parked a car and he was allowed to follow me to the ward, which was a 2-minute walk, but then he had to turn around and go out again. I was very relieved initially when I was told he could come with me, but I didn't really get to feel that relief since he was sent away again. And I was really starting to feel very panicked at this point. But I got changed into my hospital clothes and was assigned a bed where I was going to wait because I was patient 2 and then we were going to take in patient number 1 first. Shortly thereafter I got to meet my anesthesiologist, who was amazing. He was really calming and nice, and I was crying at this point, being a little nervous, but he was so sweet and very gentle and was like, it's gonna be fine, this is what we're gonna do, you're gonna not feel a thing, which I knew, but it was still reassuring to hear it. They then put a needle in my arm where they could give me painkillers and also the anesthesia, and I got some oral painkillers to take, and then I just had to wait. Now, the wait passed fairly quickly. I brought a book, but I read the same paragraph about 6 times before giving up and realizing that I do not have the mental capacity right now to focus on reading. Instead, I was on my phone a little bit, texting a few friends, texting Marcus, and just trying to relax myself by distracting myself, and it went okay. At around 9, they came to get me and they rolled me into the ER, or they rolled me to right outside the ER, and then I hobbled in and I lay down on the operating table and they started putting things into my IV. The anesthesiologist was there and he was talking to me about Japan because I'd mentioned I'd been, and before I knew it I was asleep. And if you've ever been under anesthesia, you know that you don't realize that you're falling asleep really, and you also don't realize that you've been sleeping. So I woke up and someone was pulling on my legs, and I think since I woke up with a cast, they were either fixing that, like finalizing the cast, or they were just repositioning my legs to make me more comfortable. I don't know, but I just remember waking up groggily and having someone pulling on my legs, and it was just painful and annoying. That's sort of when I started coming to. I mean, I hadn't felt anything during the surgery, and this was after they stopped giving me the anesthesia, so I was supposed to feel this, but I didn't know that I was going to wake up feeling something like that. That's also when I realized that they put a tube or something down my throat, which was unpleasant because the nurse went to pull that out and I sort of gagged and it sort of tasted kind of gross. I don't know how far down it went. I've heard that sometimes you just put it in behind the larynx and then that can administer more anesthesia for you. I don't know if that's what that was. I didn't ask, but it was kind of unpleasant. At this point I was still very groggy and not really sure what was going on, but I know they lifted me over to a different bed and then rolled me out of the OR. And the path back to the ward where I was gonna stay until I was good enough to go home was not very long, but I was dizzy and disoriented and I was in pain, and I was crying. And the crying persisted for the rest of my time on the ward, really. I came back to the ward at about 10:20, so it had been about an hour and 20 minutes since I left, and I was just sobbing. First of all, I was freezing, so I got like 7 blankets, and they put a big tube that was blowing hot air in under the blankets, which was very cozy, but I was freezing, and I don't know if I was scared or relieved or just sad or in pain. I don't know exactly what was causing it, but I was crying like a baby. And for the first like 40 minutes back on the ward, I was just crying and freezing. I was aware that I was crying, but then after a while I was like, oh wait, but I'm not crying, like I'm not making noises and there are no tears, but I'm still equally sad and equally in pain. Boo-hoo! And then I started crying for real again. It was a very strange experience. I was also given more painkillers because they asked if I was in pain, and my foot was not happy, so I got more painkillers. And then I managed to text Marcus that I'm out of the OR, things went well, I'm in pain, because I wanted him to be the first to know. And he was also going to contact my parents and my brother to let them know that I was through surgery, because I didn't want to have that on me, but I also wanted them to know as soon as possible. And then slowly I sort of came to. I stopped crying, I thawed a bit, I wasn't as cold anymore, and I was given a couple of sandwiches. And Marcus still wasn't allowed at the ward, so I was there alone, well, with the nurses and with the other patients, but it was just me. But at that point, once I got some food in my system, I was a bit more awake and alert, and I could, at least socialize over the phone. I could text him and say that I was okay and what was going on, and I could text a few friends and stuff as well. And then I got to leave the ward at about 1:15, I'd say, maybe 1:30, and then he got to come up and like collect my things, because I couldn't carry anything, and I needed someone to help me do that. We then swung by the pharmacy to pick up my painkillers, and out to the car we went. So we left the hospital around 1:30, and I took some more painkillers because I was allowed more painkillers at that point, and they were needed. And we were home again around 5 because we stopped for food on the way, and then we were home, and the homeness began. I had to have my foot elevated in the car, and I was told to have my foot elevated for 3 weeks, so I'm cheating a little bit right now because it's just mildly elevated as I'm filming this. But I was in a lot of pain that evening, and the following week, actually, the first week was pretty bad. I'm very thankful that I've been sleeping pretty well. I've slept on the couch a couple times too, because extra sleep can't hurt, but I was in a lot of pain for the whole first week, and I couldn't, I have a cast, I'm gonna show you some video of it, but my cast starts like a decimeter below my knee, and then it's my entire foot as well. And I had to have my legs straight in front of me when I hobble around. I haven't been moving a lot, but when I went from the bed to the bathroom to the couch to the bed, sort of, I had to have it straight out in front of me because it hurt too much to bend it. I obviously can't bend it in the foot, but moving it back puts the pressure on it differently. The cast presses on it differently, and that is very uncomfortable, so I didn't do that for the first week. Now I hop around with it behind me. I also shouldn't forget to say that on the second day, the day after surgery, when I woke up at home in my own bed, first of all, I woke up at 5:30 and could not fall back asleep, but second of all, I also was in a lot more pain than I'd been in the evening the day before, or in the afternoon and evening the day before. And I think that's because some of the anesthesia and the painkillers they give you in surgery doesn't necessarily wear off for like 24 hours. My pain that day was awful, and I was sitting on the couch just doing breathing exercises, trying to not scream. That was also the day when I sat down and I decided to cross my legs for some reason, and my right leg, which is the one that's in cast, knocked into my left knee, and it sent just shooting pain down into my foot. But now we're about 2 weeks after surgery, and it's okay. The worst of the pain subsided about a week after surgery, so this past weekend and this week has been okay. Today is the 3rd of April, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very glad that it's passed and the worst should be behind me. Today's a Wednesday, and on next Thursday I'm going in to have the cast removed and get a boot instead. I'm currently not allowed to be weight bearing at all. I think I'm going to be allowed to be a little bit weight bearing with the boots, and I'm going to have that for 3 weeks before that comes off, and then I'm slowly allowed to become more weight bearing and also start moving it, because my foot's in a cast, I can't move it. And I guess that's what the next clip will be, unless there's a clip of me hobbling around on crutches so you can see my glorious cast. The next clip should be of me when I have the boot on and how that feels. So I'm going to update you when that's happened. Okay, I've been trying to avoid the light from the window, but it just keeps following me. So this is just the best I can do today. Anyway, I'm back now with the second foot update for this video. Today is April 23rd, and tomorrow it's been 2 weeks since I got my cast taken off. and got this lovely boot instead. So 2 weeks ago was the first time I got to see the surgical wound, where the incision was, and the stitches, and got my cast taken off, got the boots, and was told that I should now start putting weight on my foot, slowly but surely. And I do have some pictures from when I took it off, and also some like progress pictures of how it's healed since then, but I'm not going to put them on the screen now and scare anyone. I might tag them on after the sort of sign off I do at the end, we'll see. But I don't want to like scare you with them right now, because I know some people watching are not going to want to see it. But I thought I would talk a little bit about the process and how I'm feeling 2 weeks later now, and quite a few weeks after I updated you last, and how life is, how I'm making progress. So again, I got the cast off 2 weeks ago, and at that point I'd worn it for just under 3 weeks. If I'd worn it for one more day, it would have been 3 full weeks. And it was an interesting experience, because my cast was hard on the back of my leg, but then it was just bandages on top, securing it in place. And it hurt a bit. Towards the end of having the cast, I started feeling like I was getting a blister at the back of my heel. The pain had definitely gone down at that point, but it was just not comfortable. It was very difficult to get comfortable, and I had to keep my foot elevated and all that good stuff. And I was very happy and very relieved to get the cast off. Now, what they did is I was sat on a bed in the hospital, and they just cut off layers and layers and layers from the top of my foot and to where my foot was, so they could then lift my leg out of the cast and just remove it. Now, it was a fairly quick process. I had a nurse in the room. She then also called in the doctor because he wanted to see what it looked like, and a physiotherapist came in to give me the boot. But it was a fairly quick process. The cast removal itself was completely fine. It didn't hurt at all, because I mean, they're just cutting the bandages, they're not cutting you. But getting the stitches out was not my favorite thing. Now, I had 6 stitches, and they were running over the outside bump of my foot. I thought they were going to go around it, but they went straight across. I have never had stitches before, so obviously never had stitches taken out before, and it was not the most fun. It did hurt a bit, but like it was nowhere near like the pain I've had for 6 months prior to the surgery. But it was uncomfortable, and Mark had told me he had his stitches out in December after he had his stomach surgery, and he told me that it was uncomfortable, and I believed him, but it's a different thing hearing it and experiencing it. And again, I mean, I had 6 stitches and they were out in like 2 minutes, so it wasn't a long process, and the nurse was very good about it. But I could not look at her doing it, so I looked out the window because I didn't want to get lightheaded or anything like that. But I got the stitches out, the cast was off at that point, and while she went off to go get the doctor, I was just laughing at how my legs looked. I'll put a picture of that in actually, because this is the difference between my legs after having been in the cast for 3 weeks. I don't know where my leg went, and it's just ridiculous. And that hasn't really changed. Just the other day, I think I was in bed and my legs were bare, and I was just looking at them going, where is my leg? Because it's still like a toothpick and then a leg. So I found that very funny. But yeah, then the doctor came in, and again, my foot had been in a cast for 3 weeks at that point. Now I was free from that. It was free from the cast, it was free from the stitches. But since it had been in a downward, outward pointed angle, that was like the natural resting position, and I was scared to move it. I also hadn't been told that I was allowed to yet. But the doctor came in, he looked at the stitches, and he asked like how my pain was and stuff, and I had had a bit of pain the last couple of days before the cast came off. So I told him that. He seemed totally chill with it, and he looked at the wound and said that's healed beautifully, and that there is no reason to believe that the actual inside of my foot also hasn't healed. He then told me that I would be in a boot for 3 weeks, and that I should then go see a physio where I live, because again, I had to go on a trip for like 2 hours to get to the hospital, and he told me I didn't have to come back there to do the future things. So he told me to contact the physio where I live and see someone here and call him 6 to 8 weeks after when I saw him just now, 2 weeks ago. He then left, the physiotherapist came in with a boot, and we tried on a shorter version first, but that was too short, it was pressing in the wrong places. So she left and got me a tall boot that she strapped on, and she told me to get off the bed and get moving. And she said I was allowed to put weight on the foot at this point, but I was still like, my skin just felt so fragile, and it was so weird to have anything touching it. Even though the boot is pretty padded, it was just, everything just felt weird. So it was an experience. But she told me I could put weight on it, and I put too much weight on it, because I basically just took a step, still with crutches, but I took a step, and I might have screamed out loud because that was just too much. in one go. But I got to walk around for a little bit with the crutches, and she basically told me to, in the beginning, just do the motion of a step, like let my foot roll but don't put any weight on it, because the underside of the boot also is rounded, so it makes that very easy, and then slowly build up to put more weight on it. I was also told to elevate it when I'm not using it. When I'm sitting down or something, I should elevate my foot. And at this point, it told me to elevate it above my heart, which is the normal ratio you're supposed to elevate a foot. But when I left after surgery, they didn't tell me how to do that. They just told me I had to have it straight, like on top of the coffee table, for example. So that was interesting. It was different nurses and different people, so maybe they had different instructions, or maybe it's more crucial that I actually elevate it now, which strikes me as strange because if I didn't elevate it in the cast, it couldn't expand very far. Like if my foot started to swell, it couldn't get very far because the cast was hard. Now, the boot is soft, so there is some room to grow. And when I don't wear it, when I'm sitting down, I take it off. Not now, but when I relax, I take it off. And then even if it was to swell, then it can swell to infinity. Maybe that's the point, I don't know. But it's now been 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks. And I am making progress, and it's very, very, very nice. So I'm still in the crutches, I'm still in the boot. I elevate it when I'm not using it. But I have started to be able to put quite a bit of weight on it. I think I can even like stand on my 2 feet without the crutches on the ground, bearing most of the weight on my left healthy leg, but still such an improvement. And the past couple of days I started to go outside as well and actually do a little bit of walking, which is nice. I mean, sure, there's a certain charm to being inside and not having to go outside and do anything, but you also get a little bored of that, and I need to start building up my strength and stuff in my leg. So that's been happening, and it's very nice. And I've also reached a point now where if I wanted to get off this chair, I could just stand up without having to brace or press off on anything with my hands. I can just put my legs on the ground, bearing most of the weight again on my left leg, but still stand up, which is amazing. And that is very nice. And I've also I wanted to wash up a frying pan in the kitchen by standing on my feet, you know, because I needed to hold the frying pan and the brush to clean it, and I then had to take like a step or two to put it down in the proper place, and I could do that without the crutches. It's not good because it starts hurting a bit if I do that, but I can do it, and I wasn't able to 2 weeks ago, so it's getting better. Now next Thursday, May 2nd, is when I'm gonna go see a physio for the first time, and I am excited to hear what they have to say, but also a little bit worried that this whole process, the whole rehab process, is gonna take 6 months, because this is already been going on for way too many months. Again, I got injured September 29th. I'm filming this clip on April 23rd, so we're closing in on 7 months already, and I know physio is going to take time, but I just don't want to take another 6 months. I could do maybe like 2, but it also depends. It's like, okay, do these exercises for X months, but you can walk and stuff normally before then, or is it that I have to use the crutches for that much longer? Because I am getting very, very, very sick of crutches. I'm also sick that I can't really carry anything. Now I have a tote bag that I've been using around home just to like carry the book I'm reading from the couch to the bedroom, like that. But I can't like carry a plate of food. I can't be useful. I can't go to the store, you know, and that's really, really annoying. But I'm making great progress, and that is exciting, and I'm hoping I'll regain full function in my foot in the not too distant future. Now I'm gonna wrap up here because the battery's flashing at me, and then I'll make another video when I've been to the physiotherapist and heard what they have to say, and maybe also a bit down the road seeing how physiotherapy is helping, if my leg ever grows back, and how I'm doing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with another video, and I'll see you then. Bye!